All right, so you know how much we both love talking about all things AI, right? Well, buckle up, because things just got even more interesting in the world of ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's definitely not getting boring anytime soon. Did you get a chance to look over that article I sent about OpenAI's latest project?
I did, and honestly, I'm pretty stoked about this one. It's called Canvas, and it sounds like a total game changer, moving way beyond just simple chat.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty big leap.
Instead of that typical back and forth in a chat window, we're talking about a dedicated space where you actually collaborate with ChatGPT to build projects. Like, whoa.
It's kind of like having a brainstorming partner, an editor, and a coding whiz all rolled into one, you know? But the real key here is collaboration. You're not just throwing prompts at it and seeing what sticks. You're actually shaping and refining the output together.
Okay, that's a powerful image. So walk me through this. How exactly does this whole Canvas thing actually work? The article mentioned it's using GPT-4, which is the brains behind the newest version of ChatGPT, right? But what makes this different?
You're right to zero in on GPT-4 because it's a much more powerful language model than anything that's come before.
And for anyone who hasn't been glued to the AI news cycle lately, what does that actually mean? What can GPT-4 do?
Basically, it can understand and generate crazy good human quality text in ways we've never seen before.
So what they've done with Canvas is teach GPT-4 to collaborate, not just respond, which I feel like is a huge difference.
Exactly. They've somehow trained it to recognize when a collaborative approach would actually be helpful, and then it just seamlessly switches gears.
Can you give me an example?
Say you're writing a blog post about the history of coffee, right? Instead of just spitting out a dry, encyclopedia-style summary, Canvas might be like, hey, how about adding some personal anecdotes to make this more engaging? Or maybe throw in some relevant images to break up the text. It can even prompt you to brainstorm a catchy title that will grab people's attention.
So it's almost like having a virtual editor who can also tap into a massive database of information to make your writing more engaging and more accurate at the same time.
Pretty much. And the best part is it's not just limited to writing. Think about coding, for example. Imagine you're a coder wrestling with a bug that just won't quit. Canvas can actually analyze your code, pinpoint potential issues, and even suggest solutions, all while explaining its reasoning in plain English.
Wow, that's seriously impressive. The article touched on a few other cool features too, like being able to highlight a section of text that you're unsure about, and getting instant feedback, like having a writing tutor on speed dial.
Right, and it can even go further than that. Let's say you've written a technical document, but you need to make it understandable for, normal people who aren't experts in that field. Canvas can analyze the whole thing, pinpoint areas that might be confusing, and then suggest simpler wording, or even give you illustrative examples to make it crystal clear.
So it's not just about fixing typos or grammatical errors. It's about actually understanding the intention behind your words and then helping you tailor your message to different audiences, which is a game changer for anyone who writes for a living, which, let's face it, is pretty much everyone these days.
100%. And the crazy thing is how they actually pulled this off, The article mentioned something about using synthetic data to train the model, which I'll admit sounds a little sci-fi to me.
I've heard the term thrown around, but I'm a little fuzzy on the specifics too. What is synthetic data anyway?
So instead of just feeding the AI tons and tons of data created by humans, which could take forever and also potentially have bias baked in, OpenAI found a way to generate massive amounts of artificial data to train their models. It's like they built a whole simulated universe of information.
So are they essentially creating a custom-designed training ground for the AI, where it can be exposed to a much wider range of scenarios and possibilities than it ever could in the real world?
Yeah, exactly. And because this synthetic data is generated artificially, they can control for things like biases and inconsistencies that tend to pop up in real-world data. This allows them to train GPT-4 to be more accurate, more reliable, and more fair in its responses.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how does this whole synthetic data thing actually make Canvas a better collaborator? I'm really curious to see how this plays out in practice.
Well, let's dive into that. It's all about the training. Instead of feeding GPT-4 every single blog post ever written, which would take ages, not to mention all the potential biases lurking in there, they use synthetic data to basically create an unlimited supply of hypothetical blog posts.
So instead of learning from real-world examples, it's learning from this ideal data set that covers every imaginable style and topic, right?
Exactly. It's like giving GPT-4 a crash course in the art of blogging, exposing it to every possible style and approach you can think of.
From conversational to academic to downright wacky. I'm guessing.
Precisely. And because it's all synthetic, there's no risk of the AI accidentally plagiarizing existing content, or, even worse, picking up and perpetuating harmful stereotypes.
So it's like a clean slate, a fresh start for AI training.
Exactly.
Okay, so I get how synthetic data works for writing, but what about something like coding? How do you even create artificial data for something as structured and logical as lines of code?
Good question. You're right, coding is a whole other ballgame. But the basic idea is the same. Researchers can generate huge data sets of code that include a massive range of functions, algorithms, you name it. It's like creating a digital boot camp, where GPT-4 can just soak up knowledge from millions of lines of code.
And through all of that, it learns the best practices, develops an intuition for what works and what doesn't, kind of like a masterclass in coding.
Exactly. It's like having access to the combined knowledge of a million programmers, all packed into this one AI.
So it can review your code, spot errors, suggest improvements, talk about a dream come true for any developer.
And it gets even better. Imagine being able to give Canvas your rough draft of code and then just be like, hey, can you make this more efficient, or make this more secure, or even just help me make this readable for once in my life?
It's like having a senior developer on call 24/7, ready to offer guidance and elevate your code to the next level.
Right.
This is seriously blowing my mind. And I think this whole synthetic data thing is still relatively new. Who knows what other crazy breakthroughs are just around the corner as they keep researching AI.
I know, right? It's really exciting stuff.
It is. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Yeah.
The article mentioned that Canvas isn't just like constantly popping up, right? There are specific triggers that tell it when to switch into collaboration mode.
You're right, it's not about to hijack your computer or anything. They designed it to be helpful without being annoying, which honestly is a fine line to walk.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot between being proactive and respecting your workflow.
Makes sense.
So while Canvas might not jump in if you're just asking a simple question like, what's the weather today? It's far more likely to activate if you give it a prompt that hints at a collaborative task like, help me write a blog post, or let's debug this code together.
It's almost like it can sense when you're looking for more than just a quick answer, when you're actually ready to dig in and really collaborate on something.
Exactly, like it can read your mind, or at least your intentions, and knows when to jump in and be helpful.
That's wild. So once it's in collaboration mode, did they say anything about how responsive it is to feedback?
They did, actually. They've put a lot of work into training Canvas to be a really intuitive partner. So it offers suggestions and makes edits based on your specific needs and the feedback you give it.
Wow, so it's like having a coworker who can actually anticipate your needs and adjust their approach accordingly.
Pretty much. It's next level collaboration.
It really is. So for the average person out there, what does all this actually mean? What's the big takeaway when it comes to AI and collaboration?
To me, the biggest thing about Canvas is that it has the potential to completely change how we think about creative work, problem solving, even learning. It's not about AI coming in and replacing human intelligence. It's about augmenting it, helping us do things we never thought possible before.
It's like having this superpower at your fingertips.
It is.
But, like any powerful tool, I imagine there are some potential downsides too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's exciting, but yeah, a little intimidating too, to be honest.
For sure. I mean, for starters, if we're talking about AI being this integrated into our creative process, what does that even mean for the concept of authorship? Like, if you're working with AI on a project, who gets the credit?
It's a really good question. And what about education? Are kids even going to need to learn grammar rules or memorize historical facts when they've got an AI assistant that can basically do it for them?
Right. It's a total double-edged sword. On one hand, this technology could free us up from all those tedious, repetitive tasks and unleash this incredible wave of creativity. But on the flip side, we can't become overly reliant on it, or those essential skills could start to disappear.
It's like we need to find that balance between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence.
Exactly. And that balance is going to look different for everyone, for every job, every industry, you know? There's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
It's a brave new world out there, and honestly, we're just starting to scratch the surface of what AI can do, especially with tools like Canvas coming out. It really makes you think, what happens when AI gets this good at collaborating? Does it fundamentally change how we work, learn, create?
It's a question we're all going to be wrestling with for years to come. But one thing's for sure, the future of creativity and problem solving is looking a lot more collaborative.
That's the truth. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. What happens when AI becomes this good at collaborating? Does it change how we work, learn, create? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.